Thanks again, everyone, for joining us at the 2023 Sloan Sports Analytics Conference, Competitive Advantage Talks, presented by Kager. My name is Anna Yee, and I'm a first-year MBA student at MIT Sloan. It's my pleasure to introduce the presentation, How Angel City FC is Using Data and Analytics to Gain Massive Popularity and Drive Revenue in LA. Please join me in welcoming Heather Pease, Vice President, Ticketing and Data Strategy of Angel City Football Club, to the stage.
Anna, I need the clicker. It's up here. Thanks. I assume I use the green button. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Heather Pease. Already been introduced, but I'm excited to talk to you today about Angel City. We're a women's professional soccer team based in Los Angeles, if you're not familiar with us. We launched in 2022 with a breakout season that we love to talk about. And today we'll talk a little bit about how we launched as a brand and drove both revenue and impact. So to help introduce the team, we will, in theory, play a quick hype video.
Yes, beautiful people. Do you know what's better than putting on for your city? Is your city putting on for you?
We at Angel City Football Club are thinking differently about football. This is not just a game, this is bigger than a game. We want to build an organization where mission and capital can coexist, and that started from day one.
LA's new soccer team.
A star-studded group of women investors creating the largest female lead ownership group in professional sports.
It really does raise the profile.
People want to watch great stories. They want to watch great talents.
Angel City's looking to win and flip the culture of soccer upside down.
They're putting an emphasis on better pay, supporting players, and of course, winning.
Our mission is to have a positive impact on the Los Angeles community, to lead toward positive change, and to bring community together.
We're playing for something that's bigger than, the game on the field. We're playing for what this club symbolizes.
You're going to see our team and our amazing supporters doing their best to make as much impact as we can in the community.
We have this platform and our community is our priority. We can be an example for other teams, other leagues, and everyone around the world.
We believe in it, not just because we played, but because of all the women who came before us that laid the groundwork.
This is our legacy to help continue to grow the game, to grow the sport, and we can't think of a more fabulous place to do that.
We're going to be giving the fans what they deserve, and that is, and listen closely, the best women's soccer team on the earth. I said what I said.
Angel City FC to get the #1 pick in the NWSL draft.
Angel City FC select Alyssa Thompson.
We love greatness in sports. And when we think of the sport of soccer, the most popular sport in the world, it's women who have carried the crown, and now we're giving them the stage they deserve.
There she goes! Angel City earns its wings.
We are Angel City!
And let's go LA!
Vamos, go!
LFG.
It's an exciting new day.
Angel City represents something massive. It's about progress and equity and inclusion in sport and beyond.
And that's the end of the presentation. So to understand why we are the way that we are, it's important to know where we came from. So in 2016, Abby Wambach won the SB Icon Award alongside Kobe Bryant and Peyton Manning. And if you're not familiar with who Abby is, total badass in the US soccer space, has scored the most goals, male or female, for the national team. And later she's talking about the story of walking off the stage and candidly not really feeling that great. She's reflecting on, why am I not stoked? I just won the freaking Icon Award. And she realizes part of this is because, rightfully so, Peyton and Kobe are walking into millions of dollars of retirement, broadcast opportunity, brand deals, and she's wondering how she's going to pay rent. So actor and activist Natalie Portman hears that story and is like, that doesn't feel great. And you have to remember this is coming off of the Time's Up movement in Hollywood. And so Natalie starts doing some digging around equity in sport, specifically in soccer. No surprise, she doesn't really love what she finds. And she's wondering, we have this amazing national team, the fans are incredible, there's increased followership in women's sport in general. Like, why is nobody building a business underneath that? And the fact was, there was a league, there were teams, but candidly, they just weren't really well invested in. They were not invested in at the level of men's teams. So she's wondering, what can I do, what role can I play to drive equity in sport? And in the way that maybe somebody like Natalie Portman only can, casually drops in a text message to our co-founders, should we buy a team? And that is how we were born at Angel City. And it wasn't just buying a team, starting a team, it was also, let's fund it the right way, let's invest in our staff, let's give them the tools, the resources, the budget to operate successfully like a men's organization. And for us, we knew that we couldn't just talk about equity. We needed to drive for that as well. So, with the mission that capital and impact can coexist, we aggregated this collection of pretty incredible investors who you saw featured in our video. And it's undeniable that because of their reach, their belief in what we're doing, we have been able to have conversations about equity in sport, and not just the athlete side of things, but in Hollywood, A-list celebrities, tech, thought leadership, and ensuring that we are driving that conversation. There's a lot of study around consumer behavior and why people buy what they buy. Some studies say that consumers are 4 times as likely to purchase when they trust the company, when they believe in their values, when the brand has an impact and a purpose. And what we knew, again, to drive to equity is we couldn't just talk about it, we needed to do something about it. And you think about, especially coming out of COVID, people are so mindful of how they're spending their money, their time, and their resource. In 2021, right when around the time we were launching our seat deposit campaign, initially going out with people who wanted to actually come to our games, Sports Innovation Lab launched a study talking about women's sports fans, and talked about not just growing a fan base, but developing a community of fans, and said, when this community has a purpose, they will put their money where their heart is. And coincidentally, we had already begun launching in that same vein. We knew that a purpose-driven model was what we wanted to do, and we wanted to make sure that we not only galvanized a community of people who felt the same way, but we also gave them something to cheer for. So we built impact into every revenue stream of Angel City. On the ticketing side, I'll talk about the impact on our seat deposit campaign, but we also launched our 1% of net ticketing going back to our players. We launched our P22 fund. I almost wore my hoodie today, but thought that might be a little too casual. 10% of that merchandise line goes back to former NWSL players to further their careers. And on the sponsorship side, we have 10% of all of our sponsorships going back into the community through our pillars of impact, equity, and essentials. From a seat deposit standpoint, in 2021, we went out to this amazing following that we had garnered, and we were like, who wants to come to our games? Put down a $50 deposit. And along with that, with every deposit placed, we will donate a sports bra to a girl in need in LA. Why a sports bra? We had talked to a number of nonprofits and community leaders about barriers to entry for youth. And I think a lot of us often think about maybe somebody can't get access to cleats or a playing field, or their parents can't pay for the club team, or they can't drive them to all of the events on the weekends. But what we learned was actually the bare minimum of having a sports bra was prohibiting a number of girls from continuing in sport. So alongside Nike, we donated 22,000, you'll hear that number a lot, 22,000 sports bras into the LA community. We didn't sell 22,000 seat deposits, but we did live up to that max. We also launched a 1% ticketing model, which I just mentioned. All we asked the players to do is post about our games, which candidly they would have done anyway, right? They would have said, come see me play on Saturday night. This is much more rampant in women's sports than it is in men's. And so we said, we'll actually pay you to do that. All you have to do is link to Ticketmaster, sell some tickets for us in theory. We don't track it. We don't give them more money if they sell more tickets. It's just you post, you get the word out there, and you will get 1% is split between all of the players who opt in. What that meant last year is thousands of dollars for each player. And for us, we're inhibited by the CBA, right? We can't just say, we believe in equity, we're gonna pay everyone more. We're not allowed to do that. So trying to find creative ways to make sure that legally and rightfully, we can help our players and support them. Our incredible BI team has also helped us with some, what I say is low lift, because I'm the practical applicant person, right? I'm not sitting on the back end coding this, probably a higher lift for them. Some initial programs to drive revenue. So I'd be remiss not to mention these. On the seat deposit side, we launched a conjoint survey in 2021 asking everybody who had a seat deposit, would you pay X for this seat, this view, and these amenities? And that was an 8-slide survey, very fast for people to take, that helped inform our pricing. I was candidly really nervous when this was brought to me as an idea. I was like, what if nobody's willing to pay what we think we can charge? And what if people say that they want us to charge a lot more? Is that the right thing to do? We wanted to be accessible to all community members in LA. What this ended up leading to was we were pretty spot on with pricing, which is amazing, but there were 2 sections in which we actually could raise prices because of the fan feedback. There were so many people who were like, absolutely, that's the one I would choose. There was enough demand for those areas. Another thing that we do is we rank our games and dynamically price them. So on our end, this is like a 10-minute exercise, and then there's all the building on the back end, but just ensuring that we're charging the right thing for the right game. We knew that the home opener last year, and we know that the San Diego game this year is going to be significantly higher in demand, so we should reflect that and make sure that for season ticket holders who are reposting their tickets for what we're deciding to charge, that that is accurately reflecting the demand from the start. And then we survey the crap out of our fans. So we do this a lot. Obviously, post-game surveys, we do mid-years, we do preseason. As I mentioned, we do the conjoint survey from a pricing standpoint. And we make sure that we can execute these small things along the way to make an impact on our revenue. We also developed a lot of campaigns around lookalike audiences. So on the marketing side, we ensured that when we were getting all these seat deposit holders coming in, we weren't just saying, well, that's nice, let's go find more. Like, who are these people? What are their behaviors? Where are they coming from? And how do we mirror that and target those same people online? However, as a brand, as you can imagine, based on the video, we were not intending just to be a group of Malibu soccer moms. We wanted to ensure that our crowd reflected the diversity of LA. And so we do things like heat mapping, where our ticket buyers are coming from, overlaid with our community events to make sure that we're hitting different pockets of LA. Now, not every community event is intended to drive tickets, but important for us to understand where those people are coming from. This helps inform things like bar partnerships when we're hosting community events. We just announced yesterday, partnered with LA Metro to provide free round-trip Metro fare for about 1,000 of our season ticket holders, what'll end up being about 1,500. And when we were deciding who was going to get access to that, it was such an easy process to overlay and select on this beautiful map. I want to look at where our supporters live versus where our premium people live versus general, overlay that with a really quick Metro map, and then make a decision that was informed by data. On the merchandise side, I mentioned our P22 fund. So we launched this with 10% of that collection going back to NWSL players. So again, when you talk about what players are making in the women's space, how they're limited from a CBA perspective, they don't necessarily have the funds for further education. And so we wanted to support in that space. We can't say coaching should be more diverse. We want more women in the industry without actually putting our money where our mouth is. And this global map is not just P22 sales, it's all of our merchandise sales. But we've sold merch in 51 countries, and I'm happy to report that it is now 50 states as well. On the corporate partnership side, and this was really the beginning, this was in 2020 when we launched this, 10% of every single sponsorship goes back into the community from equity, essentials, or education. That is not a nice to have line item for some sponsors who care about community impact. This is for every single sponsor. If a sponsor does not want to have community impact, they're probably not the right sponsor for us. And what this led to is in 2022 alone, we donated over $1 million back into our community. That's more than most nonprofits. We provided over 150 hours of mentorship. We donated over 1 million pounds of fresh produce. We delivered almost 380,000 meals. And we delivered about 10,000 hours of coaching, or of adult and youth education, serving 54,000 Angelinos. So obviously that's great for our partners. It really helps them cut through the clutter, as you can imagine, and not just saying, we have a partnership, we have a jersey sponsorship, we sponsor a women's team, but it also impacts our fans. They are so much more likely to engage with our sponsored brands than any team that I've worked for in looking at their affinity. And they all say that the impact makes such a difference when they're considering the brands. These are 3 of our season ticket holders whom we love. They showed up to game 3 in corner kicks presented by Cedars-Sinai shirts. Would love for you guys to come find me afterward if you have worked for a team who has people that wear proactively, they make shirts regarding your sponsors. People talk about how literally it's not about our corner kicks being a moment, our corner kicks presented by Cedars-Sinai are a moment in the venue. There's Twitter threads about it, it's incredible. And I do love this quote from one of our fans that they chose to be a DoorDash delivery driver over any other service because of their sponsorship with us. So what does this really mean? Well, by doing the right thing, we have galvanized a community of fans, of partners, of community advocates who are enthusiastic and putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to buying what they believe in. We have started a first of its kind impact model that is now being replicated throughout the industry. And we are proving that women's sports is a business. Our goal initially of mission and capital coexisting, when I was interviewing for the job, it was like, that sounds great. Let's see if we can make that happen. And we have. And lastly, women's sports is a business that needs to be invested in. We can't be expected to be successful without the budget behind it. We are so excited to see what the future holds, not just for us, but for all women's sports, and what this type of model can do for the industry as a whole. Thank you. And I think now we'll take some questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Heather. If anyone has questions, we have 2 mics you can pass around. Heather, I'll let you choose.
Oh, I have to choose?
Yes.
Over here on my right, your left.
I think by all measures, it was an incredibly successful launch. I'm curious, going into year 2, 3, 4, 5, what the next milestone steps, goals you want to accomplish are.
Well, if our president were standing up here, she would say, Heather did a great job, and we sold out 4 games last year of 22,000 fans at BMO Stadium, but we want more than that in 2023. So that would be a top one. For us, again, we know that we can't drive equity without revenue. So we are constantly focused on our business lines, and as much success as we've had in those spaces, we have a lot of crazy, really highly driven type A personalities in our front office. They are always looking for the next best thing, and I say that in the best way. So merchandise, amazing that we've sold globally, right? But how do we increase that by 10%? And ensuring that we're continuously moving that needle. It's really amazing for us to hear the fan feedback when somebody says, I never attended a sporting game before because I didn't feel like it was the place for me, or I have attended and I never could be my authentic self. And we have so many people that say they can be their true self at our games. They feel represented, they feel seen, and so that'll continue to be the through line alongside the revenue driving. Yes, here in front.
Hi, how have you seen your success this year translate to the rest of the NWSL? How have you seen your attendance also inspire everyone else's attendance to rise and revenue and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, our investor group clearly is a competitive advantage in and of itself. But that put a spotlight on the NWSL just generally. So a lot of people thought that the league was in its first year when we launched because they had never heard of it before. So we have just helped in terms of awareness across the board. We spend a lot of time internally, and some people think too much so, but working with other teams and helping tell them what we did to help raise that bar. In our opinion, the rising tide is going to continue to raise all ships. And so that definitely has helped. The other things that we have proven when it comes to investment, hiring experienced staff, having budgets to work with, having a BI team. Other teams are now saying, they can't just say, hey, go sell more tickets. Those leaders are saying, great, I need the resources. And we have shown that the resource helps fund that. And so almost every team for 2023 is hiring somebody in the BI or the analytics space. The league is now hiring somebody in the BI space, and none of that existed in 2021. So certainly helping, I think, reset the bar. We've also seen from an investment standpoint, other celebrities, other athletes have also joined into different teams as well. Great question. Sure. Yeah, here in the middle.
Do you anticipate more teams kind of, trying to use this model to either give back to their community, their players, former players in the league? And do you see that as kind of a source of competition or a goal that your team has and that the league has for that to kind of grow across the NWSL?
Yeah, we've already seen it starting to happen from not only just the sponsorship side of things, but also people trying to get creative and again, legally paying their players. But for us, that's only a good thing, especially in the women's space where we need more investment, we need more, more growth. This is why we do a lot of this, and we talk about what we're doing with teams a lot, and that's everything from, basketball teams in this country to soccer teams internationally to cricket. Like we have a lot of those discussions, hoping that this model can prove out to be successful elsewhere as well, because we will not be successful in 5 years. We will not gauge ourselves as successful in 5 years if we're still the only ones doing it. And then the league is still where they currently are. Sure, over here. Oh, sorry, and then we'll come to you in the front.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. I'm Marcella. I'm a MIT Sloan engineering student. My question for you is, obviously you have a lot of scaling to do moving forward, and you've had incredible success so far. Are there any significant roadblocks you expect to see as you're going through that scaling? Obviously, you just mentioned that you need to get other people on board in order to replicate this success, but is there anything else you think, even if it's like the data space, the analytics? You mentioned that you're partnered with the LA Metro, and frankly, I lived in LA, the public transportation's trash. So like, are there things, and so are there things like that, do you think may challenge your scaling process?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest hurdles, and it's very real time because we released our schedule about a month ago, is there's only one team that owns their own venue. We're all last on the totem pole when it comes to getting dates. And so as you can imagine, with most teams sharing with an MLS team, if there's a Saturday, who's gonna get it? It's gonna be the MLS club, even if it's not, the same organization at the end of the day. So I think that from an investment standpoint, that's a different conversation. That's a different scale of billions of dollars to build facilities. I'm really curious to see what Kansas City does, being the first women's-specific soccer stadium. But I think that that's going to continue to be an inhibitor in the growth. It's just the lack of control, because that also leads into you can't do founding partnerships at the venue, right? Like you're limited in terms of the sponsorship that you can create, the signage that you can have, the assets. So there's a lot from a trickle-down standpoint when it comes to venue relations that I think, if teams had their own, would be in a better spot. Absolutely, sure.
In a world of more fleeting attention spans and people always looking for the next thing to care about, how are you keeping people's attentions and keeping people engaged in the causes that you're working for? And how do you, continue to work on that and keep them engaged with that for the next 5 years?
It's a great question that we're really mindful of, having been in the LA market for a while, and LA loving teams that win. If we're not winning, there will be something else that comes along that's sexier, that's shinier. And so we're really mindful of not just saying, we did it. Like, look, we've sold 16,000 season tickets, right? Like, that's not enough for us. So there are some core business functions from that, right? Like ensuring that we have a really strong customer service team, that we're talking to our fans. We have a really large, debatably too large content team to help tell all of those stories. And if you follow us on social or you know, are subscribed to our newsletters, you see the work and the effort that goes into the storytelling around the impact is really, really great. So I think that keeping that at the forefront, continuing to push boundaries, like we are not done. There's always going to be more that Angel City tries to do, which is a strength. In 2022 was insanity, as you can imagine, of saying yes to everything. But we're trying to be really thoughtful about what that looks like because, yeah, very aware that, you know, in 5 years we want to still be able to have this conversation.
Unfortunately, I think that's all we have time for, but thank you so much, Heather, and please join me in one more round of applause. Thank you.